Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this COVID-safe legal compliance webinar run by Kaizen Synergy Law Firm. My name is Nihal Samara. I'm the General Counsel and Legal Director here at Kaizen Synergy, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's session. Today's session is looking at the compliance obligations that agencies need to meet in order to have the systems in place to manage the specific pandemic laws as things start to unfold. We are going to be looking at recapping some of the obligations that you do need to consider, but also look at, well, what are agencies doing to try and best manage their legal compliance obligations as roadmaps continue to ease restrictions. We're also seeing now in other parts of the world, the Omicron strain has now changed again the people's response and government's response in some other parts of the country. And we're seeing that in the UK now as well too. That being said, as Australia continues to change its and relax a lot of its obligations, agencies are just looking at some of the clarifications on how they can actually best manage their obligations that they need to meet. And that's what we're going to focus on today. As always, we'd like to pay our respects to the elders past and present upon the lands on which we all meet. While this session is being run by webinar, we do pay our respects to the traditional owners accordingly. So as I've mentioned during our sessions, these sessions are being recorded. We are focusing on the specific compliance obligations that agencies do need to meet. And as part of that, we are also going to be covering what are the structures that people need to follow in order to meet their obligations. We're not going to engage in news headlines as we haven't done since February last year, but only to identify and acknowledge what is going on at the present time as well. As always, the purpose of these webinars is to give you the specific information you need and look at any changes in legislation that you also need to consider as well. Of course, by attending this webinar, we are looking at giving you a better understanding of the COVID rules, improve your awareness of what these rules are, and also look at what specific COVID-safe systems your agency also needs to carefully consider as well too. This webinar is being recorded all the way up to the question and answer part of the session, where we will open up the phone lines, and more than happy to stay online and answer any questions that people might have. It is also being made publicly available across our YouTube, the Gemba 360 YouTube channel, and all materials referred will be circulated to all attendees as well. We do have a knowledge base that is created and updated from week to week, which gives you access to the Gemba 360 dashboard to actually log in and continue to utilize the resources that we are releasing each week. That said, if you do have any questions, you can email us and also contact me directly on my mobile, and these numbers are listed here as well too. That said, one of the areas that we will just show you as well too is that if you jump on and you want to have a look at any past sessions that we have run, you can go to gemba360.com on the YouTube channel and actually have a look at the past videos. You will also get access, as I said, to the knowledge base as well too, which gives you access to all of today's resources. So whether you are running a job service or the likes, or other types of NDIS or community support charity services, you can get access to these resources, and we will show you these as well too throughout the session as well. So essentially, when we look at these, our main focus, as always, is on looking at preventive techniques and also your compliance obligations. With it, there are continued requirements to screen clients and also register clients, looking at staff vaccinations and also policy documents that your agency needs to have. We have also updated these over the past few weeks as well, and these are available in your knowledge base as well. Again, also looking at the specific client flows and services that you deliver to agencies as well. As always, we'd like to pay our respects to the elders past and present upon the lands on which we all meet. While this session is being run by webinar, we do pay our respects to the traditional owners accordingly. So with it, let me just jump in and actually just walk you through some of the challenges that agencies are facing. There is a lot of information out there at the moment that we are seeing. And specifically as roadmaps start to release specific legislation and laws change, there is also the introduction of new pandemic legislation that is being rolled out across the country. What we are seeing is that as people are essentially coming into accessing your services again, while the vaccination rates might be increasing, essentially you will see a range of different client groups. We have seen across this, though, agencies, particularly in the community services sector, where people are coming in under NDIS funded services, aged care services, trying to access greater, what I'll say, volume of services from your agencies. So essentially you will have people that are vaccinated, partially vaccinated. There may be some that are exempt. There may be some that are not exempt around it, and some that may well be COVID positive as well. So, and especially within the vulnerable population groups, especially under NDIS type of services, there might be job link type of services as well too, and a broad range of other service providers that cover these groups. Essentially, when you also look at types of group sessions that you may also try and run, again, you might have clients that may well be, I'm going to say, of mixed COVID vaccination status as well. And so the question becomes, how do you actually protect your staff? What systems do you need to have in place to protect clients as well too? So if you are going out to visit client groups or clients within their own house as well too, or residents, what does that look like? And also if you are engaging with another agency as well, what does that look like? And what are the systems that you need to have in place to manage this as well? So we can see that there are a range of different processes that you need to consider. And we've just had a question from a couple of agencies that provide NDIS services just asking around these slides. Yes, you will get access to these slides, and you will also be able to view the dashboard that I'm also going to show you shortly as well too. So essentially, when we look at this, there are obligations that you need to meet under various pandemic legislation, public health directives, some of which are changing. And we know in New South Wales, there is a new directive that's coming to an end on the 15th of this month as well. And there are also changes to Victoria's pandemic laws as well too. And other states like Queensland is also opening up its borders too. So essentially, there are still obligations under work health and safety rules or safe work rules that you need to continue to meet. Now, what does this mean and what does this look like? Well, essentially, apart from the legislation, there are compliance obligations that you have, whether you're an NDIS provider, to ensure, for example, that you keep your workplace safe from COVID or minimize as much as possible, but also that you screen clients and also staff as well to ensure that they don't have any symptoms. In reality, we found that in some agencies, just in the past few days, that there have been spot COVID outbreaks within employment workspaces. And so they've had to very quickly initiate COVID safety plans and actually undertake contact tracing around this. So what does this look like, and how can you essentially manage this as well? Well, essentially what we've got when we look at this, and if we go back, is that the importance of actually managing this information comes back to some of your legal compliance obligations. And we've seen this in some states where there is criminal sanctions that can be placed on individuals or corporates if they don't actually ensure that you have appropriate documentation in place. And there are some states where you will actually find that there is criminal under the Crimes Act, that there are specific requirements that you need to meet around document control. So this is where it does become very, very complicated very, very quickly for agencies to consider. And so with it, what we have set up for you is essentially the dashboard that will allow you to essentially manage a lot of this information. And what we're finding with agencies, and if I bring these up, essentially what people are looking at is a range of tools. And the range of tools ensures that you can continue to manage your workplace appropriately and safely, and also ensure that staff are aware of their obligations and also have the relevant tools to screen clients as well. So essentially, we've got things like the updates to the COVID mandatory vaccination policy documents, which I will show you, and also specific checklists that you can continue to use. And also what agencies have looked at is their service agreements they have with other agencies. And this is really focused on some of their contract obligations and including things like force majeure events. And this is some of the sample clauses that we've actually put into a number of agencies' documentation. You may also want to consider things like if you are an authorized provider based on some states, then you will need to continue to manage your specific vaccination registers for staff. And the reason that this is important is that you need to consider what steps you need to take in order to minimize COVID within the workplace. And what we found that other states are also doing as well too, a number of states are doing, is continuing to run daily attestation registers. Now, the daily attestation registers is really a checklist for staff of your personnel, and this includes volunteers, to ensure that they don't have any COVID symptoms. So you can see we've got the policies, we've got the vaccination registers, and we've also got the specific items that agencies also need to consider within their space. What we have found is that agencies that have done this, like Rumballara Aboriginal Cooperative and Women's Housing Limited, have consistently been able, over actually the last 2 years now, to consistently be able to very effectively manage any potential COVID outbreaks within their agency. They've been able to early detect any symptoms that staff may display, have them checked and also isolated out of the workplace directly. And essentially, they've actually utilized the knowledge base to use things like the policies, to look at the HR registers, and also the pandemic forms. And if we look at what some of the policies that they've got in place, we've got some of the templates that you can also start to use. And the same thing goes with also Women's Housing Limited. And you've got access to all of these resources and knowledge base that I'll show you. So let's have a look at your knowledge base and what you can essentially have access to. So essentially you will get access, and we can see a few people asking this. You can simply go to gemba360.com. It will bring up your login details, and you can use your email address to actually log in, and we'll send you the password around this. Once you log in, you'll see a range of tools that are available to you. The first one that I will show you is around the knowledge base for your policies. And to access those, you can simply click on the Gemba Docs button. And what will come up is this screen here. And just a couple of questions that people have bounced in. Yes, this dashboard is open to individual agencies as well too. So that way you are actually opening it up just for your agency. We've set this up as a single seat that allows you to access these resources, and with it there is no cost around it. If you do obviously open it up to other to other staff within your agency or personnel within your agency, then there is a subscription cost associated with it. But this gives you the tools around it. So whether you're a job service or you're funded under the NDIS, for example, you will be able to access all of these resources. Now, if we look at the policies, for example, you can actually go in and actually have a look, for example, at, let me bring these up, at, let's say, the COVID policies, and we've got a range of policy templates. And one of these is, let's say, the work health and safety document that meets all of the specific quality standards and reporting requirement that you need to meet under your specific agency. And you can see we've actually looked at the relevant compliance obligations that you have access to. The same thing goes for things like social gatherings. As roadmaps start to allow restrictions to be eased, you can open these up, and this gives you the latest document for you to view as well too. And this is also a Word document that you can also change for your own agency's use as well too. But very quickly, it actually gives you the resources that you need to utilize as well. Of course, you can obviously use this for your own policy documents as well too, and also any of your quality standards and compliance reporting. Now, the other part that I did want to show you was around vaccination reports. And essentially what you can do here is, if I head back to the main dashboard for yourselves, one of the big things that agencies have tried to do to actually manage is their personnel's vaccination information. Now, if I click on the HR side, you can actually bring up this screen here, and I'm actually going to go into, just to show you how this works, one of the people that I've loaded in, and this is Jane Citizen. So Jane Citizen is an contractor, and what I have, just to show you how this works, is that Jane can actually go in and I can load in Jane's information. I can see that Jane had the COVID, is fully vaccinated, and here we are here. We got it issued on the 2nd of the 11th, and hers is just due in a year's time. If I wanted to update this, I can by simply clicking on this and changing the date as well too. Also, if I wanted to load in Jane's vaccination certificate, I can simply click on this button here, and what comes up is a copy of Jane's vaccination certificate. And this is just a sample that we have taken to show you how this works. But I can also, if I wanted to, let me go back here, also use this to actually load in other information. And this can include things like working with children checks or blue card checks, police checks, driver's license, etc. And this will actually send me out as the admin contact, and it would do it for yourselves directly, send you out directly reminders to say, hey, this person's vaccination is due, and will actually prompt you to actually do this as well. It also means that if you load in other things like they're working with children checks or police checks or driver's license, then essentially 90 days before it's actually due, it'll actually send you a reminder to say, hey, this is also needs to be updated. But this allows me to actually store in people's personal contact details, emergency details as well too, and makes it very, very simple and straightforward to actually manage all of my HR compliance obligation and information. And I can actually set this up by having employees, volunteers, members, or board members all added in. And quite simply, to actually do this from the start, I can click on add, and let's say I'm going to add somebody new in. So let's say I'm going to create a new person, and I'm going to add their name in. So it's Nigel Flintstone, and Nigel is a volunteer that works with us, and I'm going to click on save, so I can select that. Now I can then go in and actually add in Nigel's vaccination status. Here we are here, and I'm going to say he is vaccinated, and I'm going to add in the date. Let's say it's just been done yesterday, and I'm also going to mark that it is due in 12 months time for now, and that's how we're going to load it. And here it is here. What I'm able to then do is, if I wanted a quick report to say, well, how many people have actually had the vaccinations, and where are we sitting at the moment around this? Well, I can simply go into the PIM module. I could click on reports, and I could run the report. Now, what this gives me is the vaccination status of all my little personnel that we have here. and it can really work really easily for yourselves as well. So you can actually see that essentially from here, it makes it very, very quick and easy for us to run. The other part that I will mention around this for yourselves to have access to is things like the contact tracing. So the contact tracing, what this allows you to do is actually screen your clients. And this is an important one. So when we have this set up, we've got the policies that we've got for our staff and personnel, and including volunteers. We've also got the HR side for our vaccination registration and other personnel information as well too, including contractors, board members, volunteers, and if we have any paid staff. And now we've actually got our contact tracing section as well too. And what this allows us to do is to actually very quickly screen clients. And so people can actually use this directly off their mobile device and use a QR code to actually check in. And we've had agencies like small religious groups like the Roka Hazana group in New South Wales and other religious bodies as well to actually use this as part of their congregations that come in and see them as well too on Sundays and the weekends, and also schools as well too, where they want to quickly have students actually just complete a quick and short survey around this. And if they do mark that they've got any COVID symptoms, then immediately a message is sent to the admin to say, hey, we just need to carefully support this person as well. But remember when I showed you the presentation slides about the previous groups that you might have coming in? So essentially what we've seen from here, if we go back to our slides, thank you very much, here they are here. So essentially before actually people come in, we're actually conducting the screening check, or even if people are coming in to visit our site as well too. And also if we are going out to visit clients as well too, people are then also going in to actually screen people as well too. And you can actually see that this is all happening live. So essentially, those are some of the quick tools that we've actually got around these. You will find that we're going to run the risk register reports and information next week for agencies, just to finish off the session for the last week as well too. If you do have any questions, more than happy to stay online and answer any questions that you might have. If you are watching this recording after today's live session, then please contact us on 1300 360 360, or you can email us at support@gemba360.com. If you are watching and staying for the recording, then or the live session, by all means, stay around and we will answer any questions that you have.